Hey guys, welcome to Fat Matt Outdoors. I'm glad you could take the time to join us. Today we're going to take a look at Lake Istokpoga and give you some information on what it has to offer as a Central Florida fishing lake. Come along. Okay, so we're currently out here on Lake Istokpoga and I have the DJI Phantom 3 standard drone out here, and as you can see, it's super windy. I don't know if you can see the ducks coming in to land over there on the other side. There's a couple of black-bellied whistling ducks that have landed over there. We're going to give this a shot and see if we can't make her fly, even though it is a bit windy. Wish me luck. Alright folks, Lake Istokpoga. Listen, it's about 27,000 acres. It's located entirely in Highlands County. It is bordered by a couple of towns, Sebring, Lake Placid, and a small town called Loretta. Each one of those towns has some level of services available, with Sebring probably being the largest, although there are great places to stay, great restaurants to eat at, and things to do in each of those towns. The lake is fed by two feeder creeks, Arbuckle Creek from the north and Josephine Creek from the northwest. You can get up in Arbuckle Creek relatively easy. Takes a little more effort to get into Josephine Creek, but both of those are good options if it's really windy. And you can catch fish in both of those areas. There's no shortage of canals on the lake. There are canals in multiple areas that are surrounded by communities, and those provide relatively good wind breaks when it comes time to fish, and the main lake is difficult. It is a shallow lake, average depth 4 to 5 feet. And when the wind blows, it really is a tough lake to stay on and can be dangerous. The legend is that Lake Istokpoga is actually an Indian term that means someone died there in the water, or someone died in the water. I don't know the accuracy of that. I certainly do not know the Seminole language by any stretch of the imagination, but it is well documented through other sources that that's the meaning of it. So I would take heed, and if it's going to be bad weather, I would not get out on the main lake. I have been there before, and even a 15-mile-an-hour wind is enough to make you think maybe I should not have come out here. There's several islands on the lake. There's a bit what's referred to as the Big Island, and then there is Bumblebee Island. At one time, I believe both of these were owned by Likes Brothers and were used for cattle or something. I do remember there being kind of docks on each one of them as a young kid, and you could get on the docks and you could actually go onto the land. You can still go onto the land, but I believe they're now owned by the state, and they may be officially listed as rookeries for birds, kind of giving them some protection. But you can actually camp on these islands if you wanted to. They are a bit wild. There is signs of people being there and spending time there as well, so others I'm sure have done it. No shortage of areas to fish, different types of vegetation, from hydrilla, although that's getting more difficult to find, peppergrass, spatterdock, cattails, pencil grass, you name it. There's floating water hyacinth. There is some water cabbage in a few places. The lake is shallow. It is relatively muddy. It didn't used to be that way, but it is now. And like I said, average depth is about 4 feet, with some areas about 10 feet. The current water level is down significantly. I don't know how much. If I had to guess, I'd say 4 feet, which makes the entire lake very shallow. Good lake overall. It is part of the fish management area in Florida, and there are certain regulations on what can be caught. I believe the standard measurements for the state apply here. I think you're allowed to keep up to 5 fish under 16 inches, and anything over 16 inches, I believe you're only allowed to keep one, or you're only allowed to keep one fish over 25 inches. But make sure you check with the regulations for the fish management area so that you have that correct. I pretty much catch and release everything, so it doesn't really affect me. But if you're planning on keeping some, make sure you verify the requirements prior to taking any fish from that lake. Anyway, great lake, great area. There are boat ramps, public boat ramps in pretty much the four corners of the lake. There's a boat ramp on the north end, which is Istokpoga Park. There's a boat ramp on the south end from Lake Placid. That also has a large county park. There's a boat ramp on the west off of Cowhouse Road, and there's a boat ramp off the east on Rutledge Road. A real quick look at Google Maps will give you those locations and make it pretty easy to find. There's no shortages of ways on, even though they would be considered public, I guess private. They're accessible to anybody. Most of the parks and the winter areas that are on the lake have boat ramps. There's a couple of fish camps, Trails End, and then there is a fish camp up in from the Lake Placid side, and all of those have access for a couple of dollars. You can use the boat ramp and put in there. So if you're fishing from a kayak, it's an easy lake to get to where you want to go on land and then paddle out to your area. The lake is approximately 10 to 12 miles from north to south and 5 to 7 miles from east to west. So, it's not beyond the ability to paddle the whole thing, but certainly being able to access many different boat ramps makes for a much better trip. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Hope you put Lake Istokpoga on a list of lakes to fish. It was listed in the 2016 Bass Angler Sportsman Society top 25 lakes as far as lakes go for bass fishing, and I would agree. If you go to the state of Florida's Lunker catch page, you'll see that Lake Istokpoga has probably one of the largest number of fish caught over 8 pounds and the most number of entries of many of the other lakes in the Central Florida area or all of Florida. So anyway, give it a shot. Great place to go. We enjoy fishing it on a regular basis. Out of Okeechobee, Istokpoga, Kissimmee chain, you can't go wrong with any of those. And you know, we put Istokpoga right there on the top of the list as far as the big fish. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks for coming along with us. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. I'll try and put a couple links to some additional information for you in the description box. And other than that, if you haven't liked our page yet, like our page and subscribe. We'd love to have you come along for a few more trips.